So first, let me show you how to create a disk in Google. And let me just switch gears here real quick. Here we go. So I have, this is the machine I'm working with, disk management. It's just a VM that I spun up, just like yours. I'm going to go in here and click on edit to edit the VM. And you can do this live. You don't have to turn the machine off. Kind of one nice things about the cloud. And if I come down here, there's a little button here to add a new disk. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to give my disk a new name. Disk 1 is fine. Doesn't really matter what you call it. You can call it anything you like. Just to keep my costs low, I'm going to do a standard persistent disk. And I'm just going to make mine 10 gigs. I'm going to use the smallest possible size. For what we're doing, we don't really need anything bigger than that. Scroll down. There's really not much else here. I do want to set it to delete disk. That way when we delete the VM, the disk gets deleted. Otherwise, it'll keep the disk. It's good obviously if you want to keep that data, right? But I want to delete it because I don't want to pay for that disk once I'm done with it. And that's pretty much all we need here. I do want to mention that this disk by default is going to be encrypted. So you can see right here, it's going to be encrypted by Google. If this was on our own system, we could certainly use full disk encryption tools to encrypt that disk. So I'm going to click save, and that's going to create our disk. And then I'm going to click save down here. And usually these disks get created in relatively quickly, and they should be available relatively quickly in our VM, and it should be in almost real time. You can see I don't have it yet, but if I give this a minute or two and check, I will probably see that disk in here. And you can see here after about 30 seconds, I only paused the video for about 30 seconds, and you can see the SDB now shows up, so I've got that second disk. So SDA is my original 10 gigs. SDB is the new disk that I just created. That's a 10 gig, but I can't use that disk yet. We have to run some commands in order to use that. The first is we have to use mkfs, which is short for make file system. You have lots of different options on what file system you use. I'm going to use ext4. If you wanted to play around with different file system types, you certainly could. I talk about a bunch of different ones usually in my lectures. So I'm going to go ahead and take SDB and format it as an ext4 file system. Alright, so that's done. It created the file system. Now I have a usable disk, but I have to mount it somewhere. So I have no way, like I can't go in here and CD anywhere to get to that disk. I can't change directory to it yet. So first I have to make a mount point. One place that you could use for the mount point, there is a directory on almost every Linux system in the directory hierarchy called MNT, which is short for mount. It's a good logical place to mount stuff. So I'm just going to call it, I'm just going to call mine data. So I'm going to mount mine as under MNT data. All right, so that creates the disk. Now, or it creates the mount point. So I have a folder to which I can mount this disk. And now I'm going to use the mount command to mount that disk into that location. So first I have to tell it which device that's formatted that I want to mount. This is going to be SDB. And then I'm going to mount it to data. And that's it. So at this point, I should be able to run the df-h command. So df-h basically shows you all the different mount points and the space available. So you can see I've got on my slash, I have 9.7 available, 2.3 gigs are being used. There's a couple other mount points here. But the one I'm interested in here is down there at the bottom, MNT data, and it shows you on the left which device it is, right? So root is dev SDA1, where mount data is dev SDB. It's a little bit confusing sometimes in Linux because in Windows you've got a C drive, a D drive, an E drive, an F drive, and each one of it is its own formatted drive, whereas in Linux it's not as clear cut. You always have a root, but within root you can have many other drives that are mounted in different places, and we're going to see later on how we can work with that. So you want to take a screenshot showing this, that you're able to see this directory, and if you want to play with it you can certainly create files. So for example, I have to use sudo because root owns this right now, right? But I can touch a file and call it mnt data test file. There we go. And then I can show the contents. Oh. There we go. So there's test file, right? It created that file in that disk.